Everyone, this is Brandon Krieger. I'm a KNSS consultant from Toronto talking about cybersecurity. And the show today, we're going to talk about cybersecurity for you and your business and what is social engineering. I've had a lot of great conversations over the last few months of people going, I'm an expert. I know cybersecurity. I know social engineering. I know social media marketing. And with the evolution of social media marketing comes the challenge of social engineering. And here, I'm going to read you a definition that I found online. Social engineering is a non-technical method of intrusion hackers use that relies heavily on human interaction and often involves tricking people into breaking normal security procedures. It is one of the greatest threats organizations today encounter. So what we're talking about really is how people get your personal information from connecting with you, right? And a lot of the things you look at with social media marketing today is people are posting a lot of information online, their date of birth, their location, where they are, where they're traveling, their background and information. So when you're taking a picture and a selfie, you might be at a Starbucks and it might have something that's identifiable that people can say, hey, I know that Starbucks, this person's here. Right. So a lot of these things that you're looking at, social engineering, is how we can protect ourselves, how we can know what information we're putting out online, as well as through our information, as well as giving to people over the phone. Now, one of the terms that I'm going to be talking about today is phishing, Vishing. Right. And phishing is a way of someone calling you, impersonating a company, saying, hi, I am your phone company. I just wanted to call you to do some customer service. Oh, by the way, to confirm your identity or confirm your account, what we need is your date of birth, your mailing address, whatever. And most people, they're busy, they're not unknowingly will go, oh, you know what? Hey, yeah, my name is Brandon. My date of birth is, XYZ. Oh, and my address is this. Well, unknowingly, they might have given that information to, someone trying to compromise their information, right? And that's only one point of the potential compromise for them to get into somewhere else. And I mean, if I can call you and say, hey, I get this information, I get your date of birth, your address, maybe even I get your password, right? And you say some people have security codes. Oh, there's a 6-digit, 4-digit code that you're calling in for. So I get that as well. So now what happens is me impersonating your bank, your any type of service, I get that information. Now I can go out through your other services. So social engineering is something that we have to be very mindful and always be in front of our mind as we're going out through our marketing, our business development, and our day-to-day interactions of what information we're giving out. And it's hard because I know with social media marketing, people are going, okay, well, I want to get out there. I want to put a lot of information. I want to be sociable. I want to engage, and I want to tell everyone. But there has to be this fine line of engagement. So we've got a lot of great people that are joining. I'd just like to welcome you. Today, again, we're talking about social engineering and how to identify it, understand it, and how to protect yourself. If anyone wants to jump in the seat and tell me, what you know about social engineering, what are you doing to protect yourself, jump on in. I mean, this is a discussion. I want to, make sure that everyone gets something out of this, as well as kind of explains their story. Because remember, I'm teaching social media marketing as well as marketing itself on my business side. But one of the things that I've developed in the last 6 months to 1 year is the understanding of how important cybersecurity and IT security is now, with everything we're doing as business owners to develop our business with all these online systems. So if someone wants to jump in, come on in. I'd love to hear what business you're in and how you're protecting yourself in this day and age. So again, going back into cybersecurity, I'm going to talk a few points here if anyone wants to jump in. But in the meantime, I'm going to talk about a few things. Shoulder surfing. Shoulder surfing is one area that we might not be aware of. You're sitting there and you're on your phone. I'll give you an example. Say I'm on my phone, I'm in a line, and I'm talking to someone. Well, someone might be seeing what I'm typing on my phone, right? And that might be, I might be logging into my bank, doing online banking, or I might be talking to a client. And that information, people could be looking over me. Maybe you're at Starbucks or some place where it has Wi-Fi, some restaurant, right? And you're sitting there and you're typing away and you're doing some work. Well, if someone walks by, they could see that information. So now, potentially through social engineering of someone, shoulder surfing. They can see what your login, your password is, your information. They can see what you're working with. So again, just being mindful of the areas that you're in. Dumpster diving. Now, this is something that you kind of see in these criminal investigation shows, but someone can go through your garbage if they really want to get some information and get some bank information, get some credit card information. And Skip was talking about, I love doing that, watching over someone's shoulder and offering comments. And sometimes it's a funny thing, but when we realize that, you're sitting there, maybe it's helpful because you build up a connection and rapport, but maybe it's something that someone else is doing and you're unknowingly, you're sitting there, you're deep in your work and you're focused, and you're logging into your password, you're logging your Facebook account, your bank account, whatever that may be, and someone's overlooking your shoulder and watching what you're typing. So look at dumpster diving. So dumpster diving, if you're not shredding your documents, you're not shredding some personal information, or even looking through and you can see your habits. If you're going to McDonald's, if you're going out to Starbucks and you're doing all that, I can socially engineer your habits day to day, hour to hour, what you're doing, and then see where you are at home, where you're going to be, and just monitor what you're doing because I can see your habits through your garbage. I mean, it's a little disgusting to do that, but that's the potential, right? So dumpster diving. Let's see, we'll get some comments here. Sometimes all someone needs to access a secure area is a clipboard. And I'll tell you a story about that I've heard about that. Skip, this morning I was on the train and watching the doctor next to me updating medical charts. So there you go. There's a prime example of someone, working with personal identifiable information, and a client, maybe they have cancer, they have diabetes, they have some private information. And now I can sit there with my phone. And I've done this to people and to show them. I can sit there and take a picture. Right? He might not know I'm sitting there, I'm texting, right? And pretend like I'm texting, and I can take a picture of that information. Well, with the digital cameras now and the definition, I can expand that picture and zoom in to see what the information is. I don't need to be that close. I can be close enough to take that picture and then zoom into the information and whatever that may be. I did that with a service person that didn't want to give me his information. He just was a subcontractor. And I said, oh, no, don't worry. What's your phone number or what's the contract or the ticket number? He's like, oh, it's on the top of this thing. So I zoomed out a bit, took a picture, and I got all his information. So there's things that people will do like that to compromise your security. So we'll talk about a clipboard. When I was studying cybersecurity, it was actually IT security in 2002, 2003. One of the instructors told us about a scenario where a guy wore a Dell hat, a Dell golf shirt, and a clipboard, and he went into a company saying, hi, I'm Dell Service. We're here to service your servers. So the receptionist said, oh, I guess you're supposed to be in. Here, let me let you in. So she walked him into the server room. That guy went in. He said, oh, you know what? There's servers broken. We're going to have to take it off site and repair it. They're like, okay, well, do we have a backup, whatever? Oh, yeah, it's already set up. He went out to his van, came in with a dolly, put the server on the dolly, and then walked out, had her sign off on the clipboard saying, oh, yeah, you know what? We'll have it back just when you confirmation. And he walked out with a server. If I quite remember, I think it was a $35,000 server in total of the hardware and the software and everything was on that. And he walked out with it. So these things can happen. I mean, it's scary in this day and age when we're looking at security, and that's, you're looking at physical security as well as your security policy with your business. And that's something that's very important to look at. And Skip is saying, and no privacy screen, so I could see the patient's name and info. And yes, said something to the doctor, and he just glared at me like it was my fault. See, and this is a thing where I'm really getting out to educate people that we have to take responsibility of our policies and procedures and our actions of our security, because it's up to us. If we don't take responsibility and we blame someone else and we transfer that liability to someone else, what happens is we can get in a lot of trouble. So, for example, that doctor, if Skip, and not saying Skip would do that, but if Skip went and took that picture and posted that online, that patient's information on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and just spammed it out, well, guess what? Now that doctor is liable because he's the one that has security policies that should be in place to protect his patients. Well, if he doesn't and their information is getting out, and depending where he is, he could be sued. Good luck transferring that liability. Exactly, right? And what happens is when you look at the doctor, he's now on the hook. me as a patient, I went in there, understand I had a personal health issue, concern. I went in there under confidentiality. I gave them all my information, did all that great stuff. I thought it was my information is being protected, and under the Health Act, it should be. And then what happens is now, because Skip is seeing this guy doing it on the train, and he takes a picture and posts it out, there goes his security, there goes, his insurance potentially, and maybe if it happens enough times, is actually his license as being a doctor. Most cyber liability plans will not cover information that you share through social engineering. Exactly, right? So, and that's the thing that, you look at, police, laws right now are really trying to figure out, cybersecurity and social engineering, how it all works together and how can people be liable and be arrested for it. Because even now, I was watching a show just this week that just came out. It was called Darknet. And they were talking about how the girl was dating this guy, and through relationships and not judge anyone, she took some nude pictures and texted to him, and they broke up. Well, he got upset. He posted those all online. Well, through posting them online, they went from, being on 5 or 10 sites to being on 200 to 2,000 sites within 30 days. And it affected her job, affected her life. People started to, contact her. And then he started posting her personal information, contact information, what she likes, what she doesn't like. And it became something that was very scary for her. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What are you guys doing about cybersecurity? What are you guys doing to protect yourself? Get someone coming in here.
Hi, guys. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning. I hear you.
We are in the afternoon here in the UK, so please
Okay.
Good global audience. Yeah, exactly. How to, guys? Hi, it's Ethan here from Excelsis. I just wanted to kind of actually ask a couple of questions, but also kind of, as you say, you talk about what we try to recommend clients do. Because we don't consider ourselves cybersecurity experts, but we work with a lot of blue chip organizations who often have to adhere to things like, obviously, Data Protection Act legislation here in the UK and Europe, and also PCI DSS, which obviously is a credit card payment system stuff. And we're starting to see quite interesting uses of data, especially in the social engineering space, where people might be using almost attachments, if you like, on their iPhone to almost heat sense, if you like, where your buttons were on rubber-based keypads. I'm going to drop a link in if people are interested to a picture, for example, of how that can be done. But basically, we recommend a number of things. So when people are called, for example, by a company, hang up, call them back. If they're genuine, you'll be calling them back on their actual number. So that's one thing we tend to recommend.
Well, even for recommendation of that, most people, and you know this, it's on the back of your card.
Exactly, spot on, absolutely, yeah. In a lot of cases, absolutely. And this is the crucial thing. You've been given enough information to go ahead with it, and also be suspicious of absolutely everything. In some respects, mainly because a lot of enterprises fail to realize that if they're trying to protect data, right, that might only be part of a greater puzzle that they might not have control over. So often we recommend almost going above and beyond a lot of the requirements, mainly because there is the risk that they can combine that information with other information that then gives you the fuller picture that you're looking for identity theft, etc. And ironically, the UK government themselves were almost liable, if you like, for approach which might have resulted in that, especially around selling, if you like, data for research purposes, in terms of DWP, which is the if you like, welfare system, but also information around healthcare. Now, if you are claiming healthcare and on the welfare system, that actually means you have a medical condition at the same time, if you know what I mean. So those are two pieces of data which combine to give you information about individuals. So of course they shelved that plan, ironically, because the system itself wasn't built all that well. But the beauty, if you like, of that was just it highlighted difficulties around having a more systemic attitude towards information. And bear in mind, it's our information, so we have ownership of it at all points. So that's what the principle we should be thinking about is it's our information. We have the choice to do what we wish to, based upon the governing laws around in the country that we're in. So
yeah, I mean, so that's one of the things that a lot of people don't read, and I'm not saying these guys here that everyone's watching that don't read, is the contracts you sign.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. For example, some of the information can be shared out and marketed to their subsidiaries, their partners, anything along that line. And you don't read the contracts as you're signing for applications. You're on your iPhone, you're sitting there, you're signing up, and it says, oh, by the way, we're going to get access to your contacts, your calendar, this information. And they're not reading the contract that goes along with that says that they could share that information out. Well, welcome to social engineering again. Well, because now I know where you are, what you're doing, your geolocation, everything along that line.
Absolutely spot on. Excellent. All right, thanks. Yeah, that's all. Just all what I was basically going to say from that perspective. But yeah, cool. All right, thanks very much for letting me sit in the seat. I'm going to shift my ugly mug out now. So cheers, guys. Take care. Thanks.
Awesome. So we got ECBM saying most cyber liability plans will not cover information that you share through social engineering, but because it wasn't a third party stealing it and its employee willing shared it. Now, this is the thing. When you're a company, and he's right. Is it Jen? Just so I get the name right. Just so we talk about that, what happens is you have to think about your security policies and your procedures and what you write out, because what happens is this could be anywhere from subcontractors when you work with people overseas. And a lot of people do business because they were trying to be more cost effective. They get design work, website work, anything along that line overseas. Well, if you don't have these security policies in place, you could be liable. Right? For example, information that you've transferred over to them, they've given them usernames, passwords, and they could share it out because you don't have a security policy in place. And this all comes back down to, like we were talking about, social engineering, right? And understanding what can be distributed, what can be shared out, and what information can be used to compromise you. Just going through here. Skip, absolutely never trust incoming calls unless you know the person and not the company. And who reads an app terms of service on a cell phone? I mean, how many updates do you get, on Apple for updated patches, security vulnerabilities, and you just don't read them over? And I'm sure right now, if you look at your phone, how many applications do you have on your phone right now that's making you more efficient? Helping with time management, social media. You might have a list one. You might have tools like Evernote. Just trying to think of CRM type solution where you're taking in information of potential clients and recording that. All that information is potentially maybe being on your phone. And then if an application, a third-party application, can get access to it, it might share it out. So really think about, tailgating and, social engineering and your information that you're looking at. Tailgating, what I was looking at just on the left-hand side, because I have notes here, is another scenario where you could get in trouble when he looks at businesses, right? So when you look at people saying, "Oh, I'm with him," and walking through. Impersonation. Now that was something that we're just talking about when someone calls you, right? Or you look at identity theft online, where look at social media, where I can take your image, I can take your bio, I can take all your information and create an account just like you, and I can mimic you and say, "Oh, hey, my name is Brandon as well. Oh, what are you doing? What are you up to? Oh, what are you working on?" And I can start having those conversations with people that Brandon, the real Brandon, may know, and then start compromising them that way. And then eventually, "Oh, hey, you know what? I need some help. You can send me some money. I'm over here overseas. I'm trapped, whatever." And people go, "Oh, yeah, it's Brandon. Of course, I'm going to send him some money." And they can send me $500 to $1,000. And that can compromise the relationship between us. And then my friend now, or colleague now gets compromised because now they've spent that money trying to help me out and realize it's not me. And then when they connect with me, realize that's really not me. It was someone compromising my identity and impersonating me. Ultimately, the liability is the lead contractor. If data is farmed out, the lead contractor is liable. That's why most policies should include reference to anonymization process of data control roles. And but the thing is, you got to look at this in that scenario, who's creating the data, and if it's a combined role of company A and company B, both creating the data together. One's coding this way, one's coding, one's doing SQL, one's doing, some other C++, and they're mining it together. Now you have to have an overall policy that protects both. So it's one of those things you really have to think about and how to protect your data and information. Let's see here. Skip was saying, didn't WhatsApp get into hot water when they first released the uploading people's address books to the cloud server without consent? For sure, right? And these are all the things that we have to look at as business owners. And as business owners, when you're working with clients, here's something to think about. Are you taking any form of payment? right? And it's electronic. Is it you're taking their credit card information? Are you doing e-payments? And you're collecting any of their personal identifiable information. And most times when you're doing that as a client, you have the first name, last name, business name, you have their mailing address. So how are you protecting that information? And then through social engineering, having some policies in place, how are you protecting it? And do you have a policy in place that you've written out that this is how you protect it? So what happens is then you can go make sure it's insured. Because again, it's when you're looking at cybersecurity, and this is the scary part when it comes to cybersecurity, it's people think they're 100% protected, and it's not. You're never 100% protected. You're 95. You might be 90. We always have to look at the case of if you get compromised, how are you protecting yourself with liabilities, lawsuits, or insurance? And small companies that deal with maybe 100 to 200 clients, you get compromised, that can really affect your business drastically to the point where I've seen people go bankrupt, right? And we have big organizations and companies that get compromised. That's fine. They go in the media, but you don't see them closed, right? But small to medium-sized companies, they can't do that. Do you have another point you wanted to add?
Well, it's actually an anecdotal bit of comedy, if you like. Okay. There was an organization going through a PCI DSS compliance exercise probably about 4 years ago. And I was in the room at the time, and they were giving a little presentation on why we should have PCI DSS compliance. And one of the things you have to be mindful of is making sure people don't write down credit card numbers on a piece of paper before putting it into another system, or those sort of little, if you like, cultural exercise that they have to make sure that you don't do. And sure enough, they were also phasing out checks at the time, or trying to phase out checks here in the UK. And what you used to do was to write down the credit card or debit card number on the back of the check. That was standard practice for a number of years. Now, to illustrate the point, somebody was saying you should never write down a credit card number on the back of a check. And sure enough, then proceeded to post a check with the credit card number, a valid one, on a PowerPoint presentation, just to kind of indicate what we shouldn't be doing. We're like, okay, but you've got a check there that's genuine because somebody had done a lunge check on the number and it was valid. So okay. So yes, there's a few comedy things, and people sometimes don't understand that it covers everything about the data, not just the electronic parts as well. So yes.
Oh, and I'll give you a story. One of the articles I was reading is about a compromise that happened with a writer. No, it was a documentary I was watching on Netflix. And a writer was doing kind of an expose on hackers. And he wanted to find out how hackers work and what happened. Well, through his research, he got hacked. He lost all his identity. He got compromised. And he found out through his research who the hacker was. He said, I won't press charges, but explain to me what you did so I can write about it and I can talk about it. And he lost all his, they hacked his bank account and he lost all his money. Everything was in his account. His identity was stolen, everything was gone. They wiped him off the map. Well, we found out who the hacker was, and he talked to him. He said how he compromised him is he asked for a password reset through Amazon. And Amazon at that time had a vulnerability for a password reset that he'd get information. And he got, like you were saying before, a little bit of information there on Amazon. And then he went on to the next account and got more. And he was able to get a password reset for his username and password and it was his email address and password. He got it for Amazon. And most people, one of the things they make a mistake is that one password they use for multiple accounts. Well, he knew once I got that password and potentially the email address, I could go from one account to another account to another account. And he just did that. And then he got more information, collected it. And by the time he had a whole profile. And then he was able to just wipe him right out.
Exactly. And it's actually got a little bit worse in this day and age, to be fair, because nowadays we have OpenAuth or OAuth as the main login for multiple different sites. So you can log in through Twitter, log in through Facebook, log in through even Google. Mm-hmm. And those are used on external sites. So if someone compromises the Twitter account, then effectively they have access to all these other sites because they can just simply log in through Twitter, then use the other sites as well. So OAuth, for its simplicity, also introduces risks. In fact, I think one of the chaps who was involved in writing the OAuth 2 standards ended up resigning in disgust at how the standard could be abused or misused, if you like, by developers as well. So it's a very big arena, as we saw, I think, over the last 2.5 years.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, I totally agree with you. If you're looking at best practice for password policies for yourself, is that, I mean, it's a little bit of an annoyance and time consuming with the amount of applications and sites and everything that you have to log into, but have a unique login and a unique password for each one. And make sure it's a complicated password. Right? It should be something that is not easily identifiable, that it's not your dog's name with your grandmother's birthday. because someone that really knows how to social engineer you can find that information out very quickly, especially, like I said, with social media. If you're saying happy birthday grandmother and then you're showing pictures of your dog, I'm going to go, okay, this person's favorite information right now is potentially their dog and their grandmother. I'm going to try it and see if it works. And if it does, I'm in.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Just to tie into that, what you said, I mean, the shoulder surfing exercise is quite important with that as well, because most people use words. Don't use a word. Actually, more or less make up letters and numbers in combinations that you can remember, because shoulder surfers can't, if, for example, they only get 5 keys out of the word password, if you like, they can probably guess the rest of the keys to make the actual word itself. So they have a better chance of cracking it. And that's often how a lot of the automated algorithms also work through.
But they don't even have to do that, because right now, I don't know if you guys know, there's brute force attackers. Well, if you put a dictionary definition in it, you put a potential what you know of the first 5 characters, it will scroll through the rest of them to try to find it. And now your encryption, your security has gone down to being, 3 weeks, 3 months to try to break it to 30 minutes to an hour, because now they've got the first part of it.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And there's I think an even worse one in some sites though as well, because some of them now don't allow you to put in symbols, or where they went through a period where they don't allow you to put in symbols. Now that reduces the combinatorial search space, if you like, if you're a maths guy and kind of like that sort of stuff.
Right.
So that means brute forcing it becomes much easier, because you don't have to worry about all the other non-number, numerical or alpha digits that you can have. It's just the letters and numbers, and you just have to cycle through those. So yes, it reduces the search space massively for brute force attacks, which in the world of cloud is pretty easy to do. So yeah.
And Skip saying, I never the same password on multiple websites. I pretty much use 12 to 16 characters passwords and password managers to drive logins. So one of the things that I recommend is even just like having separate places that you have it. Now, here's one thing someone was recommending on a security forum, was that you have a notebook. And you write on your passwords, actually a physical notebook, because it's hard to compromise that, because in the sense of digital format is that they can't compromise it, key loggers, bots or scripting or anything along that line. They can't see, you log in that way. The one thing I said to compromise when you look at physical security is, well, if you're not paying attention, I can go yoink and take it.
Yeah, exactly. You're just introducing a different type of problem, aren't you? That's exactly it.
Right. So, it's one of those things.
Yeah. After you, sorry. Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's harder. It's harder to compromise that when you're doing it with an actual spiral notebook. For sure, I totally agree with that. Again, it's just you have to be mindful of your environment, your awareness. Again, if someone's shoulder surfing, they look over your shoulder. That notebook, it's open. Again, that's a point where people could see a list of your passwords if you have all of them logged in as well. So again, it's being mindful. And I mean, it's interesting, even like in the next 2-3 months, I'm actually going to speak at a self-defense course about cybersecurity, right? So you can see how, people are really looking at in the whole realm of how to protect yourself. Right? It's not just this one aspect of, business and compromising on the technology. It's personal security and personal, vulnerability. How do you protect yourself in this day and age of people trying to date online, connect with people and share information? You're sharing your family information, you're connecting with people. Well, how do you protect yourself doing all that? So we'll go back to my list. I don't know if anyone else wants anything. I look at Skip here. I use LastPass with its own 12-character password, even on my cell phone. So there's a few tools, and I'm looking into them right now, that there's keyloggers like LastPass and things like that, where if you get compromised, you can actually hit a wipe button and it'll wipe all your logins out and log you out of any application that potentially can be logged in. So I'm looking into that as well to see how secure that is and the potential of the security for that, because again, if you get compromised, and having a sense of double login authentication. A lot of companies now are starting to go that, where you might be able to log in, but then it texts you a secure password or a code, then you have to go and log in. So what happens is only you, if you have your cell phone, can be able to log in. Skip saying LastPass is nice. It has a remote wipe function as well as works across Windows, Mac, Linux, and Android. So that's why I said I was looking into that. But thanks, Skip, for giving that information. But these are the benefits when you're looking at different tools to use, and then looking at the potential for encryption to get, into LastPass. Are they encrypted? Which I think, and Skip can confirm this, they have a good encryption as well on the actual login to get into their password, into your passwords. So hoaxes, impersonation, hoaxes. So hoaxes, again, we're talking about this when you look at someone's pretending to be someone else. And through social media, I mean, it's so easy to steal someone's identity. I mean, it even came to the point where people were using the term catfish, right? And we heard about that, where people are catfishing, where they're pretending to be this beautiful person. They're trying to date you, and they're getting all your information, and they're, trying to create this relationship, but it's not that person. It's not their profile. It's not their image. It's not anything. Well, people are using that same identity flaws on social media now to compromise our identity, to say, hey, I'm Brandon, and here's what I do, and here's all my information. And they're trying to pretend to be someone to get you to do an action that might be to provide personal information, to connect with them in some way. So again, it's being very mindful of who you're connecting with online. I'd like to say hi to Howard. How are you doing, Howard? If you want to jump in. Skip, I'm a computer engineer, deal with security daily. Oh, now Skip, here I have a question for you when it comes to security. How are you finding the companies that you're working for, or the company that you're working for, are dealing with security? Are you finding it's a little bit of an uphill battle? Are they wanting to invest in it? And the reason why I'm asking is, this is why I'm doing this open discussion, is when it comes to entrepreneurs and small businesses and medium-sized business, it's generally up to us to invest in the security. But when you deal with large corporations, there's the board of managers, board directors, there's your VPs, everyone. They have to get to buy into your security process and your policies, that sometimes they don't see the value of it because they don't understand security. They don't understand what to input or what to implement in the business, because it's not a necessity. We won't make money from it. There's not a profit margin from it. That if we invest security, there's going to be a measurable profit or a return on an investment by doing that action, where us security people know that it's not just the return on investment, it's protecting the investment, it's protecting the business, so you don't have to pay for the liabilities or challenges and potentially PR marketing that you have to do when you potentially do get compromised. And Skip's saying here, mixed environment corporations spend big bucks on security, but the employees are lax on following through. And this comes down to training. And this is what, it's great that we're having this open discussion here. And I'm hoping you guys will share this out and get more people involved. Is when it comes to understanding, I talk about the flip side of the coin. There's one side of the coin is people understand security, but think it's not going to happen to me. I'm not worried about it. It's just this one thing that's out there. And the other flip side of the coin is, I have no clue. I don't know what cybersecurity is. I have no clue. Social engineering and shoulder surfing and all that. I don't know. No clue about it. And it's up to us, as business owners, to really educate our clients, our environment, our business friends, our colleagues about security and how to protect themselves. Because remember, they could be your weakest link in your security measures. Because if they're giving out personal information and they're telling people, and they're oblivious to security, they can compromise your business, your identity. And I'll give you an example that when it comes to like social media, one of the clients I was talking to was like, I set up the security on my Facebook. I've locked everything down. My profile is locked down. Everything is secure. No one can get access to it. You search for it, you can't find it. I said, that's great. I mean, you've done a lot of great things. But then I asked them, what about your friends, the people you're connected with? Are they doing the same thing? They're like, well, why does that matter? And I showed them. I connected with them having an open profile. And I said, here, watch. I'll share your information on my profile. Now, everyone that's following me now can see it. And now that potentially, if there's a compromise, you said something, like, oh, my God, the government sucks. And you said that. And you didn't want to because now you're an employee of the government, and I share that out. Now what happens is, potentially if someone's searching and monitoring you and monitoring your terms you're using, or your identity, and they see it that it's posted on my profile, now you can get in trouble. Now when you're talking about security in the sense of identity or your own business, say you say something bad about one of your clients, like, oh my God, this client's just such a headache, and you did it on your personal Facebook and your personal profile. Well, one of your friends shares that out, now becomes public, and they don't have their policies or their security down on their social sites, now becomes public record and public knowledge. On the side, of course, it's on Facebook and it's on online. But again, if it comes to the point where it's viewable by your friend who doesn't have any security, doesn't have anything secured down, now what happens? Now you potentially become vulnerable. Now you have to deal with that. Skip saying here, software engineer, architect. That's my background too. I don't consider myself an expert, even though I've studied the mathematical baseline of encryption formally too. It's an essential tool, but I found it needs one to impart a huge level of educational companies. And the companies don't really care. I love the people who sit in a cubicle all day and have their passwords tagged to, so on a sticky note under the wall or cubicle wall, and think it's okay because it's only inside the company access. The company has a commitment to uniformly enforcing security practices every day, not just the first few weeks when it's new. So great points, Skip. I mean, one of the things when you look at security policy, sometimes people do have their passwords because it's too hard, it's too complicated on a sticky note, or they use very simple passwords. The password is password. They use, password of administrator, like they use, and Skip saying the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And they add a password and they use the same password over and over again, but adding a string of numbers at the end. So it's, my password is Cybersecurity 1. And then when I have to reset it, it's Cybersecurity 2. And they keep doing it in 3, 4. So, looking at your policies and procedures even with your company, even when you're a small company, as a small company, we have people that we work with. It might be virtual assistants, it might be your min person, it might be other colleagues, web designers, developers. Having a security policy in place, making sure that everything that you want protected is written down. They're signing these security policies, because if you don't, again, you're going to be held liable because it's the ignorance of, I didn't know that, I didn't know I was supposed to do that, and now what are you supposed to do? So really think about that when you're looking at your security policies and your processes. So I just want to check in with everyone. I see people coming in and out. Anyone have any questions or any comments to start out with? Most networking softwares, networkworld.com is a great article. Most commonly used passwords. Most network softwares have the feature to enforce password rules, but don't use it. So again, we're talking about kind of password policies, which is a great conversation and something I'll be talking on a future blab. Password policies, backups. Ever read nakedsecurity.com from Sophia's great site? No, I haven't read that, but I'm going to actually make a record copy of that. Give me a second here. News. So some good information there. So talking about social engineering, kind of get back to do you think biometrics or even multi-factor authentication make things better? So biometrics, I mean, we see in the movies when you're talking biometrics, and let's talk about what biometrics is it's taking some sort of physical attribute for logging in. So you have retina scan, you have your thumbprint. You see now people coming out with chips that they can use, and that's something I'm very eerie about. But all these biometric identifiers or security practices are to help you log in. Now, something you can do for thumbprints, I mean, you can do it, and I've seen it in like hacker forums, is you get glue on your thumbprint, and you have someone on the keyboard, and on their space bar, people mostly use their thumb. Well, what you can do is you can press down on it with this glue on your thumb and potentially get a thumbprint. Well, if you get a thumbprint, you can try it on the scanner and see if that works to get you in. There's things like that where there's still at that point where they potentially can be compromised. And you see that like on Mission Impossible and all these different shows. But if the idea is out there and use it in this sense, think of Star Trek. Star Trek, when it first came out, they're on these communication devices that they flip up and they talk. And they're using these pads that they typed in their information. Well, you think of that, now that's your cell phone, potentially a flip phone years back. And then you have your iPads now where you type information, you connect with the computer, right? And you do all that. Well, that is there. Now you're looking at the sense of, authentication and using that. Those authentications are trying to be secure, but there's still the possibility of being compromised. Thumbprints are nice. I just keep saying thumbprints are nice, but most are stored as mathematical values that could be brute force attacked. Exactly, right? So, I mean, someone was talking to me the other day about, quantum computers, right? And how quantum computers in the potential 5 to 10 years, how they can potentially become mainstream, right? Now, quantum computers, of course, are now, there's only a few in the world right now, and you have to have login access in the sense of you have to pay for time to get access to that computer. But with quantum computers, and the reason why I bring that is with the encryption, with 128 bit encryption, I think they were showing is that within half an hour, it can brute force attack it, and they're through it. It's like easy. So things that we're looking at with technology. Let's go back to some cybersecurity. Again, if anyone wants to jump in, has any comments, anyone wants to share some of their experiences, jump on in. And again, cybersecurity, looking at whaling. Now, this is a term that was interesting for me was when you're looking at phishing attacks, phishing, or whaling. When you're phishing attack, you're trying to get some personal information by trying to compromise them by sending them like a link or an email saying, hey, by the way, if you log in this form, you get a free ebook, or you get this free 1,000 new leads, or whatever that may be, and they're trying to fish to get information. Well, whaling is when a group, a community, or someone that has money that you want to go after that you're trying to compromise. So it's someone like a personal group that that has money, or it's a big group or organization that you can compromise. It's called whaling. And then phishing, Vishing is Vishing, is compromising someone over the phone. And I think there's simming as well now, is compromising someone over text or vulnerability in the sense of messengers. So when you look at Facebook Messenger, Skype, anything along that line, when you can compromise someone's information by saying, oh, hey, I knew we met at this event. Oh, you're just, log in this form or click on this link. Ultimate is talking about man-in-the-middle attacks are on the rise too. Time shifting. One-time pad was used recently to hack wireless keys in cars. Good to know. All right, and man-in-the-middle attack, I mean, if you want to jump in and explain what that is, that'd be great. Old-fashioned telephone scams looking for donations, for sure. When you look at and especially with the older generation, when you look at donations for starving kids in Africa, your fire department, UNICEF, things like that. Now, to go back to the man-in-the-middle attack, something that is interesting is when they set up some sort of device in between the router or someone that's collecting your information. This is from what I know, and you can explain this a little bit better, is that when your user is their information being collected by a device in between the actual, your router or switch or wherever they're trying to go out. So they're collecting, your key logging information, maybe your username and password, even websites, or caching, your websites that you're going to. So the man-in-the-middle attacks, as far as I know, that's what they are. But you want to explain that a little bit better. And phishing, principal reasons for protecting yourself. Again, when we're looking at cybersecurity and why it's important to protect yourself is you want to make sure that your authority of your business, you want to make sure you protect your identity. And when you protect your identity and you're out there through the World Wide Web and you're doing that, you want to make sure you're an authority and you're not getting compromised, you're not being hindered in your marketing. Because what happens is the challenge that you could run into is if you get compromised, and then people are like, oh, he's supposed to be a web developer. He's supposed to be someone that's, this tech person, but he keeps getting compromised and, he's lost, people's credit cards information, all that. I lose my credibility as being an authority figure. And then what happens is people don't want to work with me. Social consensus and social proof. When you get compromised, a lot of times what happens is your information's out there, even if it's not the sense of, it's public knowledge in the sense of you've posted out, but maybe someone knows and says, oh my God, Brandon's account's been hacked because he's posting all this stuff about health and wellness. And I'll just use that as an example. Say he's posting all these, supplements and pills that you're supposed to go and buy right now. And from there, what happens is people are going, okay, well, why would I want to work with Brandon? He's talking about, cybersecurity and all that. And now he's got compromised. He doesn't know what he's doing. So things like that to protect yourself. And then look at, scarcity, how scared potentially people are to work with you, how you are on to be online. And here's something to talk about as well. I had a friend of mine ask me, it was a business friend, say, I'm just not going to go online. Brandon, I don't think it's safe to do that. Well, what happens is we have to really look at the fine kind of balance of it. If you're not online, you're not monitoring what's going on, someone can compromise in that way as well, because what happens is if you're not monitoring your identity and seeing what's going on, I can go on as a hacker and pretend to be you, get your friends to connect me, get your business people to connect me, do all that great stuff, and you would have no clue, right? And I have people say, hey, Brandon, hey, how do I connect you? How do I get this information? Or, what's the best way to connect with you? And I give you as a hacker, my information. Say, hey, email me here, give me your information. And then I can go through that process of compromising your friend somehow because you don't know. See what some good comments are going on. Man-in-the-middle attacks are hardware and software, which presents as one of the things which allows one to wiretap and get information. It's on the rise on bad browser extensions or even proxy sites. So good to know. Man-in-the-middle as in the NSA. That's why I'm not an expert. Twitter got sued for that exact reason, IRC. So, great things to know. This is some great conversations. Again, share this out with any of your business friends, people that you know, because again, I find, and I want to ask you guys, how many people do you know right now don't take cybersecurity in their lives, in their business, as something as important? They just kind of, it's no big deal. Right? And I know I was reading just an article 2 weeks ago, and they're saying it was over 1.5 billion people over 2015 were compromised. In some way or another, they were compromised, being their identity was stolen, their credit card information, and anything along that line that was personal identifiable information, or even their business was compromised. Even website hacks have increased, right? And talking about website hacks, and I'll just kind of give just a brief overview of that because I talked about it last week. When websites are getting compromised, a lot of times it's not just some guy in a dungeon or a basement hacking away and typing away. It's actually these bots and programs that are running that find vulnerabilities in the website that compromise them. Your hacker, help me. What's going on, Leah? Why are you looking for a hacker? Pretty much all my friends. Biggest bank heist was a cyber attack. Pretty much all my friends are security lax. And this is the thing, right? Same with me as I'm talking to just business owners and saying, how do you back up? Just even simple things like how do you back up your data? How do you secure your stuff? And they're like, it's on the cloud. Well, what do you mean it's on the cloud? Oh, it's on the cloud. It's on Dropbox. It's on Backblaze or anything along that line. And I said, okay, what if Backblaze goes down? What if they get bought out? Or what if they just close? Like, what happens with your data then? Oh, well, I never thought about that. But yeah, they're not going to close. Or even when I talked to another colleague there, he said, I have all my data backed up on an external hard drive. Right? And I asked him, well, what happens if your hard drive fails? What if the disks, go? Do you have a second or third backup? Oh, no, the disk won't fail. And if I do it, I'll get it recovered. And you're going to spend $400 or $500 minimum to get that data recovered, depending on how many terabytes. And then what if they don't recover it? Like, how much information have you identified that is essential? I know if it's a family photos or stuff, and you're okay losing that. But what if it's your banking information, something that you essentially need? So things to really think about, when you're talking to your colleagues. Sad, isn't it, Skip? Most don't realize that need it until it's too late, and that's when they get compromised, and they're sitting there calling their banks, they're calling their credit card company, saying, "Oh my God, help me out." Leah, someone hacked my phone, and I want to know how they did it. Then they put this GPS on me and took nude pictures, so they got access to your camera. Potentially, and I don't know your situation. If you want to jump in and talk about it, potentially what happened is maybe they've got in through one of the third-party applications you might have installed. That's potential. A lot of vulnerabilities happen that way, is when people are installing applications, or maybe clicked on an ad. Some of the games and stuff have little banner ads on the bottom, and they've got access that way. There's a lot of different ways to compromise a phone. I mean, they could have just, cloned your phone, right? That's another way. There's a meme that I use once in a while. Just exactly, and they call me after the hack. And this is the thing when you look at kind of security experts and people that are out there like myself, is that you kind of get the mission critical call. Late at night, oh my God, help me, the house is burning down type call, right? And you get that. And when you're sitting there talking and saying, okay, well, you're doing this and that, like, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. But then all of a sudden you get the call at 9 a.m. in the morning, oh my God, can you help me? And you're like, well, it's going to cost you this much money, and then end up paying, right? Just because your time's valuable to help them out. Now, if it's a friend, sometimes you do it, but even me, I charge my friends because what happens is I want to give them an understanding that they have to think about this. They have to think about the security. They have to think about protecting themselves, especially if they have family members, right? And they have, wife, kids, and they're putting stuff online. I mean, even with pedophiles and information they're doing, they have to be mindful of the information they're putting online. So it's really scary. Let's see what exactly, Skip. At this point, your rates go up. Yep, exactly. Many hacks started with a bot putting one hooks to get in the people to get their malware invested. Websites, wondering if Leah is one of those. I can't hop on because it's recording. Okay, no, not a problem. Yeah, just put your comments in the chat. Again, different compromise. I mean, what I'd say is wipe your phone. First and foremost, wipe your phone, wipe it clean. If it's still being compromised, the other thing is what you have to look at now. If there's, and it's kind of funny, you're coming in kind of after I actually told the story about watching a documentary where a girl did get compromised like that. She was dating someone, and she sent them nude photos of, she was kind of in this relationship. They're open. She sent nude photos to him, and then she broke up with him. He got mad and posted all her nude photos all on the web. And within 30 days, I think it was on 2,000 websites, and it affected her. So what you have to do now is, look at where those pictures are being posted. You're going to have to do a lot of research. I mean, there's solutions out there. Message me on Twitter, Leah. Message me on Twitter, and what I can do. No, this was a real person. There was a documentary on this girl, and she explained all her situation, what happened, how she got compromised, what happened. This is not like, I'm telling you the story. I was watching the documentary on this girl that got hacked, and she had to move cities. She had to move states. She had to move states because what happens is she lost her job, she lost her dinner, her family members were being harassed. Like it was terrible. It was a terrible situation. So message me on Twitter, and then what I can do is I can give you some URLs. Right, that I have that you can kind of look into and investigate. But this is the thing. I mean, how like people really don't kind of get like how their information can be compromised just that simply, right? And you're looking at the difference between something just kind of casual and social, and then you install an application because you think it's going to be fun, and then boom, it opens up all these vulnerabilities, right? Or it compromises a lot of vulnerabilities in the application, which now you have to deal with, right? And trying to think about kind of like security is that, a risk, takes advantage of a vulnerability, right? And I'm here, I actually got it written down. A threat takes compromise or vulnerability, but then comes a risk. Wipe reset. Wipe means reset it in a factory settings. It's a special feature that erases whatever is there and puts back into the stuff from when it was new. Exactly. Don't like back it up in the sense of, and I totally agree. Don't restore it from the backup. You literally have to start from scratch. Right? Wipe everything clean. Put all your contact information in, because you don't know where they've compromised or where they've left something later on in the phone. Right? And if you're have your phone, I'll use iPhone for example. You have your iPhone constantly backing up to the cloud, and it restores. Well, guess what? It's something that's going to be out there. Okay, yeah. After this, I'll message you. I'll message you a few URLs to look into. There's companies out there that will help to kind of wipe your identity off the internet. Find all sites that you can't potentially be on and do that. There was a site that revenge porn is illegal in the UK, for example. In 26 states in the USA, you have to go find everyone in order to take them down. Exactly, and that's why there's services out there that will do that for you. It costs money, of course, but there's services out there that they'll do a web crawl and they'll look for your identity or anything or pictures. Even like you look at, for example, I'm just going to use Google Images, where you can upload and show us all the sites that your potential image is on. And from there, then they try to find the sites it's on. They make sure that another good site to check. So, for example, I'll just finish that. For example, with that picture, you do Google Images, then you can find the URLs, and then you can send them a request to take it down. Now, the problem is if the sites are overseas in China and Russia, now you're gonna have a problem. Just also check sites on the dark web arena as well through torrents, for example. Now, one thing I recommend is be careful when you're going on torrent, like dark web sites. If you're really not familiar with it, have someone do it for you, because you can get yourself trapped to where you can compromise being on like a dark website yourself, right? So ask someone that knows what they're doing. What we got here, it's a friend of a friend called me for help after Ashley Madison hack. I told him to spend the money on a good divorce lawyer instead of calling me to hack the hacker. And this is something that when Ashley Madison, one of the bigger relationship hacks that are out there just recently, how many people got compromised, right? How many people lost, money, finances, lost their jobs, relationships. There's even, stories, in the news that people committed suicide because it was just so bad. Just looking at here, what else has been common here? Slang, PWNED, pond, is slang for hacked via embedded malware. Okay, good to know. Skip, Alex, skip. I shouldn't, but really made me laugh. Right, and this is the thing. Like what I say is, your time is valuable, right? Someone's got compromised everything. They have to invest into you taking the time to be able to do that, right? To be able to help them and make sure that you're protecting them, you're setting up the right security, and then they're going to follow through. I mean, security is only as good as your maintenance program. You can set up a security policy or procedures or applications or anything along that line in January, but if you're not following through, updating the scripts, updating everything or the definitions on it, you're not doing that on a weekly or monthly basis, what's going to happen is you're going to get compromised. You're going to get compromised in a way that, that you're going to be frustrated with, because you're going to say, I have these firewall security things in place, and then now, I just got hacked. I got compromised. Yeah, I know the news are on Twitter or Instagram pages, and there's like 1,000. So on this, like I said, I'll send you the information. Actually, if you hang around after I'm done this hangout, or sorry, this blab, what I'll do is I'll post them here. I'll see if I can find them pretty easy. I was doing actually some research the other day because someone was asking me just exactly about that. Is about how to wipe their identity. Actually, here you go. Actually, I have them right here. So there's some URLs for you guys, just about how to wipe your identity, how to ungoogle yourself. And there's service from like Zero Fox as well as Easy Erase Me Out. There's some great ones there. See, now, Skip, I mean, it's a good point. They could potentially, do that. But depending on the hacker, depending on how they do it, it might be something that's going viral in the sense that they create a new account, they do it again, and they keep doing it. So you got to have some monitoring tools in place and things to go on right now to keep wiping them out and keep doing it. And then eventually it'll be a deterrent to stop them. And at least it won't keep being put up. Because what happens is when you look at when someone gets compromised, like Leah's got compromised, that, it depends on the attack. From my point of view, it sounds like it might be personal, right? So, and that's where she has to find out. Contact Twitter immediately with proof, and they could take them down if you can prove it's you and you didn't consent to the photos. Also, contact your state attorney general in many U.S. states that stalking and can be arrested and charged. Yeah, so that's a good point, and that's why I'm saying work with another company. Because what happens with a company that does do this, normally what they do is they keep logs, they keep records. So they keep a record of everything that they're finding, what sites, what happened, who's the owner of it. They're doing a who is search, for example, if it's a website, and they're getting their identity of that, and they're keeping a record of everything. So what happens is then they'll give it to you, and then you follow up with the police. Then what happens potentially if they're in a state or in a country that can be charged for it, depending, the circumstance, then what happens, then you can follow through. Well, one of the things to do, Leah, I was just explaining this right now, is do a Google search. Do a Google search. Take your picture that potentially you can find. Okay, so you live in Canada. Okay, so yeah, we can chat. Follow the links that I provided. Those were the links I was going to send you. Go through that information. There's a couple companies, like I said, are really good there. Zero Fox, Erase Me Out, and then Apine, ABINE.com. Those are some good companies that will help to kind of investigate. You have to talk to each of them, right? Each of them have a different price point and what they charge. But again, to get your identity secure and do that, you might have to invest into this right now. This is the challenge and this is why I'm doing these. Canada has similar. Some do, some don't. Depends on the province, and that's why you have to look into it, right? And some are going to harassment. It's something that's, again, it's the legal system is still trying to figure out what's going on. I helped someone a couple of years back. We did the local police report called the State Attorney General, 3 months of hell, but we got them mostly removed, and the ex-boyfriend now has a criminal record. Yeah, and that's what I said. You got to kind of look at doing your due diligence on both sides. It's literally think of it in the sense of a ticket, right? In a sense of like a troubleshooting, you got to record date, time, location, right? What you found, take screen captures of everything, right? And you have to be your own investigator. And that's why it costs money to do this, is because these guys that are doing it are recording all this information, right? And they're taking their time to make sure they have all the records of everything they're finding. So what happens if it does go to court, the person gets charged, they have to have a chain of custody of the records of everything that they've recorded. And if it's across state or country borders, it can become federal. It's across state or country borders, and it's a felony, and the FBI or Secret Service can get involved. And it depends on how many cases. Now, I'll give you an example. We talked to one of the police divisions here, and with cyber crimes, they have 500 open cases per month going in on an ongoing basis. Every month, there's new 500 minimum, new 500 cases. That they're so far backlogged. Yeah, only 500, but that's why I said I talked to one of the police departments here, and that's the local division, and they were saying 500. And now they were not talking about their whole the police, for the state, for the province, the country, or whatever, the city. They weren't talking about that. They were saying 500, cyber crimes, and they don't have the staff to deal with it. Most of them get logged, and if a pattern appears, they can act fast. And this is what the officers were saying. The challenge, what they were happening is that they weren't able to deal with it because they don't have the staff. They don't have the knowledge and the training to be able to keep up. It's just because 500 come in, new 500, new 500. Yes, they look at pattern recognition and see if they can find a pattern, but they don't have the staff or the expertise to keep going. And that was one of the things I was kind of looking into. It's like, oh my God, this is kind of scary. Can you send me the links on Twitter, because I can't copy and paste the links on here? Okay, yeah, I can send them over Twitter. And once we're done. So right now we're coming up at 11 o'clock. Was there anything else you guys wanted to talk about? Any other questions, comments? I'd love to hear your feedback as well, what you guys thought. I know I was seeing some good props coming through. But yeah, comment on the side there. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode number 3. So while I'm just kind of waiting here, but I always enjoy your blabs. Awesome. Thank you so much. So you're new to security. Great job researching. Thank you so much. Nice chat. I'm at work, so I couldn't call in. Perfect, Skip. Next time, if you can, I mean, you're working Monday to Friday, I'm sure, but it's great to have your insight and your input. I mean, thank you so much. I mean, you guys have been great. You know, everyone. Ultimate. If you could post your name, Ultimate, it would be great. So you could refer you by your name. As well as Alexis. Yeah, same with you. If you could just post your name and I just refer you. Nick, you've been awesome. Great information. I know right now, and here's something that I look at when it comes to cybersecurity. I will never call myself an expert, right? I'm a student of technology and the information age and IT security. And the reason why I do that is because what happens is we're always learning. We're always developing. You know, technology is always growing. It's developing. There's new things out there. So I'm a student. I'm a student of life. I might be a little bit more advanced in some areas than versus others. And that's why I pull from you guys, because you guys are more advanced in other areas than I am. And that's why I'm a student. I'm always learning. Now, I might have the advantage because, you know, I'm able to study 3 to 4 hours a day, right? What I do. So I'm able to study and get up on a little bit more information than the average person because I'm able to do that. But having you guys as a community to be able to grow, it's amazing. So Leah, is that your name, Leah? I don't want to leave you out. But yeah, having you guys jump in, you know, giving some great information, sharing your knowledge, sharing your expertise is amazing because, again, we have people that are listening in and that are here that are able to get some timbits, some little golden nuggets they can walk away with. Skip, I have you in one ear and marathon technical call in the other ear. Oh, so you're on a conference call. Nice. Okay, perfect. Actually, someone's just going to jump in here.
Oh, hey, Brandon. I think you were about to close the blab.
I'm just about to close, yeah. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask like what you did in cybersecurity, but maybe it's better to ask in the next episode.
Next episode, next Tuesday, ask me that. It's a good question. And yeah, we start at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So if you want to jump in.
Sure, yeah, I just noticed you were recording. So take care and see you next Tuesday.
So guys, again, next Tuesday, Eastern Daylight Time, make sure you subscribe to my blab. Watch me on Twitter. I'm always posting some great information out there. I do have a security service that I offer. It's really good to just be able to help support people and answer any questions that they might have. I'm here just to help. Whatever I can do to help the business owners and people just learn about cybersecurity and protect themselves. And this is my one of my tools that I use to be able to help and educate people and just be communal and connect with other security experts like yourself. So guys, I want to wish you a great day and make sure you share this out.